toy.
We're wanted men. I have spoken.
I love it when Jason messes with me right when I hit record. Welcome to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast, your favorite Star Wars podcast for smugglers in the galaxy. I forgot what episode we're on. We're on episode 217. 217. Jason always has to correct me.
I don't.
Yeah.
Starting to sound like an old married couple. Shut up. I didn't do that.
We've been doing this long enough, probably longer than most marriages nowadays, but yes.
2 years, 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It's been like 3 or 4 years. I don't know.
Pandemic. So
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on 4 years. So yeah. Jeez. But we got Mr. Barry Scott with us today. He's going to talk about, he's got a show coming up here in the next few weeks, right, Barry?
Just over a month, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about his experiences with starting a show and just the normal stuff Jason and I get into. Oh, Jason broke his headphones. So did you get them fixed, Jason? You've fixed them?
Yeah. They're broken, but I fixed it. So it's better than my iPhone headphones that I was using where it sounded like everybody was in another room talking.
Awesome. I see you put your shelf up too. You got your other set of
Shelves
shelves
up, wallpapers up.
Ooh.
R2D2 wallpaper. That was. So if you ever go to Home Depot and you look up the Star Wars wallpaper, make sure that it's paper and not the vinyl peel and stick kind, because as you peel the sticker from the sheet, it stretches the vinyl.
Oh.
So then this is a bunch of like geometric R2D2 shapes. It's all lines.
Right.
So it got to the point where things didn't align because we stretched the paper.
Oh, geez.
And so there's places where we had to patch things and get creative, and there's like straight lines. So we had to cut straight lines and try to shift things up a little bit. So it's a pain in the butt. So I don't recommend that.
Awesome.
Something like that with I was putting shelves on my wall, which they're hidden because this office is a mess right now. But I found out my walls are not straight because I was going to put up multiple IKEA shelves next to each other, and they were so offset. I'm like, okay, we'll just put a little gap in there, and then you can't tell.
Yeah, it's the same thing here because like it's straight lines and they're level, but when you look up at the top corner and you measure the one to the other corner, there's a gap, and it's fun times.
Yeah, well, welcome to owning old houses, and they're not even that old. I mean, mine's like was built in the 80s, and it's the same thing where stuff just isn't plumb, and you're just bothers you. But
yeah,
anywho, and I think my basement they rednecked it. They did it all themselves, so it the people who owned it before me, so it's done really, really awesome, even better. Anywho, did y'all get anything this week?
Yeah, I'll go first. Sure. I stopped by Ross, and they had the retro Fennec.
Yeah.
So I've got that now, and I think all I'm missing is the Chrysanthemum, Luke Skywalker, and Cad Bane. And I feel like Cad Bane's a popular character, so I might just have to like go on some website and just buy one to ensure that I get one.
Yeah. You're talking the retro one.
The retro one. My Entertainment Earth Cantina band showed up. So this one will be opened and put on the shelf. And then I think like this bottom shelf behind me, I'll put the Cantina right there when it comes.
Will it be big enough? Are you just
I might have to like split it so you see one half of the bar and then there's the alcoves on the other side of the bar. I'll have to get creative.
Cool.
And then there's this person on Instagram that made a tarot deck. But it was all Star Wars tarot.
Interesting.
So they just took the tarot deck and they just changed out the imagery to be Star Wars imagery, and then he started selling the original work.
Oh,
to raise funds. So I picked up the Sun card, which is one of my, I guess I like the Sun card of tarot. Not that I'm into tarot or anything, but
is
it's
it?
C3PO's head, which
Uh-huh.
is the sun, and then there's supposed to be a kid riding a horse on that tarot, the Sun tarot deck, but this is an Ewok riding the speeder bike.
That's really cool.
So it's the original art. I'll have to get it framed to put it up somewhere. But I thought it was pretty cool. So I was
No,
like,
that's
"Oh,
awesome.
I'll pick that one up." But that was about it for me for pickups this week. It's birthday week, so next week will be even crazier.
Yes, it is. I forgot to intro with that. Is this birthday week? It's our birthday week. Yours is actually the right now. Well, when this releases, yours is on Tuesday, right?
When it
Yours is
releases, yes, but that
yes,
might not be when people listen.
right. But
They
yours
might listen.
releases. Go ahead.
They might listen on your birthday.
They might, which is Wednesday. So Jason's is the 5th and mine's the 6th. So yeah. And we still have to get together to celebrate birthdays. Because I think we started that tradition last year, getting together and celebrating together with everybody, with our wives. So yeah. I haven't gotten anything. Well, as far as birthday, I haven't gotten anything yet, but I did pick up a on eBay because of my Bill and Ted fetish. I found a Commodore 64 Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure game, and
There's a
I threw the
floppy disk.
guy a low bid on it, and he took it. So I'm the proud owner of a Commodore 64 with two floppy, like the big floppy disk.
Yeah.
So it's pretty epic to throw that in my Bill and Ted collection, and the instruction book is really cool because it's like most excellent dudes. You got to find these dudes, and there's no real graphics to it. There's like the border that shows, but there's no real. This is how it works, or this is how the graphics look like. So, but it's like total early 90s video game stuff, which is pretty cool. So. On top of it, I've kind of started collecting the oddball Bill and Ted video games because I've got an NES and then I've got something else that's not even open, some weird other video game. So now I've got a Commodore 64 video game, which it just says Bill and Ted on it, like typed out. So I'm hoping I'll never know if it's the right one or not, but loads of fun. Oh, and I've also pre-ordered the Chopper, I pre-ordered Chopper off Amazon. So we'll wait a year for that to come in.
Yeah. The repaint.
The repaint, which I'm sure we'll get into in the news.
But the smart repaint.
Thank you, Hasbro, for finally, doing a smart repaint and not doing the carbonized edition stuff. Barry, you get anything?
The Death Star display dome, which I think you guys have seen. It's in the other room. It's way too big. But basically, if you know what the Palatoy Death Star looks like, the cardboard version, it's a huge dome that basically goes over that to kind of protect it and display it. So I learned about that sometime last year in some random YouTube video, and I started messaging Ian like, when can I get one? When can I get one? And I'm sure he got sick of me asking. And finally, he posted earlier this week that he had gotten some into the US. They've mainly been available over in the UK, which makes sense based on where most of them are. But yeah, that was the big thing I picked up. And then I picked up a couple of these toy review magazines at the toy show I went to yesterday. And Jason, I sent Jason some pictures of a Salacious Scrum. But what's interesting is like those old toy magazines often have like prototypes or features on like vintage Star Wars stuff. So whenever I find one that has that, and I know a lot of that is online now, but just having the magazine article and pictures is just really cool. So there was one that had like prototype soft goods stuff, and another one with like Power of the Force prototype cards from Kenner. So always fun to get those, and not a huge purchase, but just something fun to have. But that was about it for me.
You just completed your carded run.
Yes. When I went to Xenia, which was October last month?
October. Yeah, it's the first weekend of October.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been looking for a tri-logo yak for a while because the Power of the Force is just kind of out of my budget right now. Looked and kept looking, and saw Narayan there. As I told Narayan, I'm like, if you see one, let me know. And sure enough, he messaged me, and it ended up being at one of the buildings I had already was kind of done with.
Oh,
And it turns out the guy had gotten it in a trade, like after I'd walked past his booth. So when I got it, I didn't give a shout out to Narayan, but if it was not for Narayan catching that, I would have not picked that up. But yes, so I finished my carded run. I've got a few upgrades I want to do. Mostly, I just want debut card fronts, so Luke Farm Boy or Luke Original on a Star Wars card and all of that. So I've got a few that aren't like that, but otherwise, I've got all the Kenner stuff on card, including droids and Ewoks. I don't have a droids fet, but who does?
You
Good luck
just
with
need
that.
10K for that, right?
What's that?
It's only like 10K, right?
It's only like 10K. Yeah.
Oh, does it come down from 20?
Well, I think 10K is like maybe not a perfect one, but I mean, some of the higher end stuff has come down in the last couple of years. But yeah, that I think I did see a droids fet in Xenia. It was like a AFA 40 or something, and it just said make offer, and I'm like, oh, it's that's out of the budget.
I got 3/4. How's that for an offer?
Yeah.
Here's $500. It's like I was at a jewelry store yesterday, and they had a used Rolex, and I'm like, that's what, like 5,000-6,000? And they go, no, it's 30. I went, excuse me? Yeah, so on a used Rolex, 30K. But no, when you said tri-logo, my wife picked up a tri-logo FX7, I think it was, and off eBay, and whoever shipped it put painter's tape around the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And as she's pulling the bubble off, she'd gotten home last night late because she was out with Shannon, Jason's wife. So I blame this a little bit, but not really. So as she's pulling the tape off and opening it, I hear a pop and then a shh, and the painter's tape pulled the bubble off as she's pulling. So I don't know if I told her, I said, you got to talk to eBay because that is, there's no way they should have put painter's tape. I mean, it was packaged great, but they put painter's tape over the bubble.
Unless it was popped before they packaged it, and they put the painter's tape to make it feel like it was Mandy's fault.
Right, maybe, but I told her she needs to contact eBay or contact the seller and be like, dude, she only paid like $100 for it, but I'm still like, yeah, it's not worth it once the bubble pops. It's probably worth a quarter of that.
Did they put it around the bubble? Or
I haven't looked at it yet
Okay.
because it was late, and she was just like, I'm going to deal with it in the morning. And it's been a late, the weather is not the best here. It's been a really good sleeping in day. So I haven't looked at it yet. Plus it's supposed to be like 11 o'clock and it's 10.
Yeah, there's some techniques online about specifically how to protect the bubble, and that does not include putting painter's tape. It's basically, there's a way to wrap the bubble in bubble wrap and then put a piece of cardboard around it. Basically, you entomb it. But yeah, painter's tape is not the way. If anyone's listening,
right. If ever I ship, I don't like shipping men on cards, but I will do the cardboard around the bubble and trying to do it to where you're protecting that bubble as best you can. But yeah, I was just like, who the hell puts painter's tape around the bubble? Especially a tri-logo that's already probably fragile.
Yeah. Well, when I picked up my yak in Xenia, CAS was there, and so I left it with them because I didn't want to mail it to them. They're still going to have to mail it back, but the bubble's not perfect. It's just a tri-logo. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, here, you take it and you be responsible for it, and obviously insure on the way back. But yeah.
Right. Well, that, and they have a bubble protector too. CAS does, right?
Not for tri-logos. I know they have it for like all of the Star Wars stuff, and they may have gotten into Empire, but those bubbles, especially after you get out of the like 12, 20 backs, like there's so many different ones. I don't know that they have them for all of them yet, and I'm pretty sure they haven't gotten like tri-logo or Power of the Force at this point.
Okay, and while we're on, because I know we haven't talked about, but okay, so you get an 80 from CAS with the yak face, and he pops out the bubble on the shipping, coming home. What happens to the grade on that?
The grade or the money?
Right, both. I mean, because either way.
I mean, you're kind of stuck at that point, right? Like
Right.
you put it back together. But I've not had it happen. I've submitted stuff to CAS and AFA. I've not, knock on wood, I've not had one pop.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, obviously the grade's invalid. And then I guess the question is, do you keep it in that bouncing around, or do you just take it out, or do you send it in loose grading? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what they're right. Yeah, we've never discussed it. I know CAS definitely. I don't want to say it's not a racket, but they know what they're doing when they're set up at those toy like Xenia and Cincinnati, because like I did that. I bought a sealed Wampa and I wanted it graded. I wanted it archived. I didn't care about it being graded. I just wanted it to be known that it was sealed at one point, because I know that tape pops. So I didn't care the grade, but I just dropped it off at CAS, and a few months later I get it back, and I think it graded a 75, which to me I didn't care about because it's about, like I said, it's about archiving it, not about grading it. And so yeah, it's good on them for setting up at those shows because you could just bring your item to them. How was Xenia, man? I know I went a few years ago and I loved it. It was one of the craziest toy shows I've ever been to. Was that your first time at Xenia, or you've been?
Yeah, that was our first time going. So the last couple of years we went to Chicago, the Kane County show, and this year we decided, we'd heard a lot of good things about Xenia, and yeah, it would. I don't know that I can directly compare them because it's set up just a little bit different, but I kind of like the Xenia show better as far as selection and number of dealers and just this and stuff we saw. I wish I had taken more pictures. I'm glad Narayan did, but just some of the craziest off the wall stuff. I mean, they had one of the vendors had a Chuck E. Cheese costume.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Like from the restaurant. It had seen better days, but I mean, I would say I'm not looking for that, but it's cool to see stuff like that and just
It could be a Halloween costume.
Right. Well, that is the one thing I do enjoy about Xenia is you see stuff that you're never going to see at another toy show, because they have anything from like 20s 10 toys to stuff that's in Target.
From bikes to planes to video games, it's the
biggest
greatest toy show there is. I almost said toy store.
I would say it was heavier. I guess nicer or more Star Wars stuff compared to Kane, and I'm guessing that's just proximity to Cincinnati, where a lot of that stuff is coming out of prototypes and things like that.
Yeah, it did. I know Narayan there was one booth that it would have been worth the trip alone. That he just was posting pictures of that had what's this Froms, the sky is
Blix.
Yeah, it had a couple of Blixes in it, and it was like that booth probably was worth the trip just to see that stuff.
Yeah, that's the first time I had ever seen a Blix in person. I mean, obviously I knew it existed, but seeing it in person and seeing two of them, one of which had the coin, it was just that and a few other beats just had some really outstanding stuff. I mean, I was laser focused on getting the yak, so I didn't have budget for anything else. But yeah, just seeing that and some of the proof sheets and sticker sheets for mock-ups, and there's a lot of great stuff at Kane too, but nothing, not nearly the prototype and pre-production kind of stuff that I saw at Xenia.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious because when we went, it was the weekend where Xenia was on Saturday and Cincinnati was on Sunday. So I'm curious if that affected the Star Wars that they had at Xenia. But yeah, this year felt like there was a ton of Star Wars stuff up there because Cincinnati's not happening this year, the Cincinnati show. So maybe that pushed a lot of Star Wars to Xenia. But I mean, Xenia, it's 700 vendors and it's 7 buildings and it takes you all day to go through. And it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's a crazy toy show. It's just crazy awesome. If you're going to, if you're even thinking about going to Xenia, you got to go.
Yeah, for sure. And we're now wanting, trying to plan toy trips. And so I'm in the Memphis area. So that, I mean, Ohio, the Xenia show and Chicago and the Kane show are pretty similar distance, 8-10 hours. So we went to Xenia instead of Kane this year. So next year we're like, okay, well, let's do like Chicago in the spring and Xenia in the fall. And so yeah, and when I say we, I'm talking about most of the shows I go to, it's me, Alex, and Jason, which I think both of them have been mentioned on the path. Jason Mulligan, not Jason Balsuk.
Yeah, the Memphis Jason.
So yeah, I mean, it's the three of us that go to a lot of shows, you know, Toylanza, obviously, and but yeah, I'm planning for next year. We're like, okay, both of them are like, we want to do Chicago and Xenia next year. I'm like, all right, let me start, you know, saving and you know, saving up PTO,
Right.
make these trips, because it's, you know, it's a trip, but I mean, it's great. It's a ton of fun seeing people that, you know, either never met before or don't see very often, and you know, that on top of being able to see some, you know, amazing stuff. So and just to say, you know, Kane is no slouch. I mean, there is a lot of great stuff there too. But if you're looking for like prototype pre-production stuff, especially vintage, yeah, Xenia is the way to go. And the night before we went, there was a Superpowers prototype meetup.
Yeah.
And so went to that. It was kind of room sales and social in one. I didn't realize they were gonna have food. We ate right before, but yeah, you know, a lot of Superpowers, you know, prototypes, proof cards, some other, you know, some, you know, Star Wars and other lines, but it really heavily focused on Superpowers. But you know, that stuff is, you know, is cool too. I mean, from Kenner and you know, everyone I talked to there was super nice. I think the other Jason picked up one of those Kenner stickers, you know, the Kenner, it's Kenner, it's fun.
Oh, nice.
Picked up one of those, but yeah, that was awesome. And then so we stayed at that hotel where they had that meetup, which is, you know, 10-15 minutes from Xenia.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah, that day, my buddy Daniel's the one that put that on. Me and him battle for Bill and Ted stuff. So we're always like, he'll get something and he'll send me, hey man, you want this? So it's and Superpowers is the one thing I think I keep looking at and like, do I want to get into this or not? No. Secret Wars, because I really dig that Black Spider-Man. That's been my favorite Spider-Man forever. And there's one at Second Chance, and I think they were wanting like $75 for it. It looked like somebody literally took it off the bubble and then put it down because it's still getting the tray and everything. And I can't bring myself to do it. I don't know why, because I know it's going to be another door. But everybody's like, you could do it fast. I'm like, yeah, but do I?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all struggle with that, like trying to focus and you know, obviously space issues, and I'm the same way. I really try to focus vintage Star Wars, but I've dipped my toes in other lines, and I try to keep it to small lines so it's easy. Like you know, Tron, you know, there's 4 figures and 2 bikes, and so you know that's easy to get done. And then of course, Super 7 puts out reaction figures and bikes, and I have to look at those.
Right.
But that and Bionic 6 are the ones that
oh my god,
dip my toes into, and I'm not done with Bionic 6 because there's vehicles and the secret headquarters, but yeah, but it's still a fairly small line, and obviously it's done. It was 86, 87 when that came out. But yeah, you especially go to some of these huge toy shows and see stuff you've never seen before, and it's just super cool, and you're like, yeah, if I do this, it's going to be a rabbit hole, and I'm, you know,
right,
get out of it. So
yeah, I remember Bionic 6. That when I was a kid, that was a really cool cartoon back in the day, and those figures were cool because they're like a mix of plastic and die cast.
Yeah, yes, they are. They're I've never seen the cartoon, never saw it as a kid. I still haven't seen it. I just like figures. You need to watch it. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
But the thing that got me into it is Fluffy, which is the robot gorilla.
Oh yeah.
Guy, and it's just a cool looking robot. I wonder if I don't think I have it in here anymore, but yeah, if you look up Fluffy or Bionic 6, it's the big gorilla, and he's almost all die cast.
Yeah,
there's a little plastic on him, but yeah, it's super cool. When I saw that, and then that, see, and that I saw that cool thing, and I just was gonna get that, and then of course I'm like, oh well, now there's other figures that go with this that I have to get too. So that's exactly how it happens. And so you just have to be so careful not to open the door.
Right. That's why I'm kind of keeping the door shut on the secret powers, right? Or secret wars or whatever it is. It's just, yeah. Cause they're like, oh, there's only only a few that cost money. That's what the guys at Second Chance. And then it's just, no, I can't do it.
They're a toy store. They're trying to sell toys and they're trying to sell it to you. You don't have to buy.
Yeah, I know, but
they badmouth me when I'm not on the episode. They say that I'm doing it wrong because I'm only collecting Star Wars.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
I know it is, Jason.
Didn't come off as a joke.
And you look really bored right now, Jason. So start talking.
Bored.
No,
I'm not bored. I have never seen that cartoon before. So
no, Bionic 6, dude, it was.
I've never seen that.
Oh,
I don't even know if I've heard of it.
I don't even know how to, but there was like a baseball guy. There was a mom and I think it was a mom and dad and their kids, if I remember correctly. But I know there was a baseball guy and there was like a mom and a dad and I think they were very sports related, but it's been forever since I've seen it. So yeah. Anywho.
So on December 7th, 1941. No, I mean 2024. Sorry, wrong year. Is the Midsouth Toy Fest. It's a second year.
Yeah.
So first of all, tell us. So this is your show. This is your toy show that you've put on in the Memphis area. Tell us why you started the show. And yeah, let's start there.
Sure. So first off, it is my show, but I also have a partner that helps me with it, Harry, who runs one of the local toy stores, 901 Toys. And he had done some kind of shows before that, so it was really helpful in, learning more and how to set it up. But I'll start with the why. So, there are some shows in Memphis, one of which is the one I went to yesterday, which is a die-cast and toy show. It's been going on, that's like 3 times a year. It's been going on for quite a while. It is very heavy die-cast. So probably, depending on the show, 60 to 75% die-cast. And if people don't know what I mean by die-cast, that's Hot Wheels, Matchbox, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So they have quite a few vendors, but it's very heavy die-cast. And there have been some other people who've kind of tried to start up shows, outdoor ones, and then moving to indoor, and just didn't. I felt like they didn't promote them very well. weren't very well attended. People didn't know about them. I was definitely rooting for them because I've been thinking about putting on a toy show for a while, and I'm like, well, if this takes off, then I don't have to do it. I can just go and enjoy it, right? Mm-hmm. So, between that, and we also have the Memphis Comic Expo, which is like 2 weeks ago. But other than that, we don't have any we don't really have a toy focused show, or didn't have a toy focused show in Memphis. And I'm like, well, we're a big enough city to be able to do that. And, we've got, toy collector groups on Facebook, and, I know a lot of the people around. I'm like, I think, we can support a show and people would like to have a show. And it seemed like there was a want and need there. So I'm like, well, I'm going to do it. And, I will say, anyone considering starting one up, if you're doing it because you think you're going to make a bunch of money running a toy show, that's not why I'm doing it, and 2, that's not the reality of it, at least early on. But if it's something you want to create and do for the community, and I'm not saying it's completely selfless, hopefully at some point maybe I'll make a little money for all the work I put into it. But that's the why, is because we didn't have a toy show, and I go to these, go to Toylanta, I go to Kane and Xenia and Toyman in St. Louis, and I'm like, all these places are having these great toy shows. Why can't we have one in Memphis? And that's really what pushed me to do it. And I've been thinking about it for a long time. I really have made a point to get to know people in Memphis, the Memphis area, shop owners, collectors. If you're going to just start out and try to create a toy show out of nothing and don't know anybody, you're not going to get vendors. You're not going to get people to show up. So it's not something that just can be started on a whim, really. And you know, I knew it would be a lot of work, initially setting it up, coordinating everything, finding venues, which the venue was probably the most difficult thing. Trying to find some place that is nice, but also going to be affordable for vendors and not make the entry fee super high. You're talking about do they provide tables or not? There's a lot that goes into that, and it took me months to find a vendor. I went to hotels where I knew they've had conventions before, and the prices I was being quoted were just astronomical.
Yeah.
Which, and I know you went through that with for Rogue Fun, I'm sure, trying to figure out. And you can have them outside. And I know that there's at least one show over in Atlanta, and you're gonna have to remind me of the name, but that is outside. And that's possible. But we are in the South.
Yeah.
And heat and toys and collectibles can be a bad mix.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to keep it inside if I could. So we found a great venue. I talked to vendors, people I knew, talked to people that Harry knew to get the vendors in. Obviously, as far as promotion goes, you really have to have a Facebook event as a bare minimum.
Right.
I've seen some places that just create something in, I want to say Canva, but it looked more like Microsoft Paint, that people put together and just post it in toy groups. I'm like, y'all creating a Facebook event is not difficult. It just takes you 5 minutes.
Right.
But on top of that, we print up last year and this year, we printed up about 100 posters and about 3,000 flyers. So that goes out to every toy collectible shop, game stops, game stores, anywhere that will basically take them and put them up. Submitted to all the convention websites that I could find, any kind of toy specific or just any kind of convention. And really just making sure that people know about it. And I feel like I owe that to the vendors, the people who are paying for space, to promote it as well as I can. And this year, so this will be a kind of an exclusive for you, because I haven't publicly announced this, but we're going to do one of those digital billboards this year for a week leading up to the show. So on 240 in Memphis, it's one of the road that loops around Memphis. We're going to have a digital billboard, which they rotate ads.
Yep.
But we're going to try that and see, just to get as many people as we can, to come out to the show. And what I've told people is, people can decide whether or not they want to come, but I want people to at least know about it,
Right.
that it's there, and try to get as many people as I can for the vendors.
Right.
So yeah, and we also even last year and this year partner with Toys for Tots. So collecting donations, toys, cash. It is a little kind of towards the tail end of their campaign. It's like a week or so, or maybe even less, before they start distributing. So cash goes a long way, toys go a long way. But I felt like that was one, a good way to give back to the community, and also obviously on theme. It's Toys for Tots, it's a toy show. So doing that again this year. So yeah, that's about it. If you guys, anyone's in the area or feels like driving, it's on Saturday, December 7th, in technically in Germantown. It's called the Great Hall and Conference Center. If you Google Midsouth Toy Fest or search it on Facebook, it should come up right away. I actually just Googled it, and I was looking to see what came up first. I think the whole first page is at least somewhat related to the show.
Oh, that's cool.
Or shoot me a message. I'd be happy to send you the info. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Everyone, all the response I got from everyone who attended and the vendors is, everyone had a great time, found stuff they were looking for. All the vendors I talked to did well, so that makes me happy that, that people enjoyed it, and, immediately got questions like, "Are you doing it again?" I'm like, "Yes," and they're like, "Do it multiple times a year," and I'm like, "No." uh, you think it's just rent a hall, sell vendor space, people show up, but there's just so much more to that. There's just so much more to it. Um, and I'm happy. If anyone's thinking of starting up, show and you have questions or wondering how to do something, I'm not going to plan it for you, but I'm
Oh,
more
come
than
on,
happy
Barry, let's go
to,
do it all the
to,
work,
to
please.
share my experience. Because yeah, I mean, there's things that it went pretty well last year, but there's definitely things you can improve every year, and that's what I think the biggest thing was taping down booths. We didn't do that last year. Our booths are 10 by 10. It's like this big open hall, and they set in the event center. The Great Hall is great. I mean, they provide tables and chairs, and they'll set that up. But when you have 10 by 10 booths and all you have is tables and chairs, people were having a hard time understanding where their space ended and began and all of that. So this year we're going to tape it down. I think that was one of the biggest things is during setup is it was a little difficult.
Yeah.
But always things you can do better. But
how many vendors will you have, and what kind of items showed up last year?
So we have 54 vendor booths. Obviously, some of those are be doubles. So probably 30 to 40 vendors on 54 booths. And it was a good mix. I try to get a good mix of modern, vintage. Vintage is harder because we don't have a lot of we have one shop in Memphis that really focuses on vintage toys in Memphis, and they'll be set up. We've got the Brick Wall, which they're mainly in the New Orleans area. They do a lot of vintage, but vintage is hard. I've really tried to get as many people as I can, vendors as I can, because that's what I collect. Obviously, for me, a lot of modern. We are encouraging people to bring comics this year. It seemed like a lot of people were looking for comics. I didn't want to. Last year, I didn't really want to promote that because I didn't want to step on the toes of the Comic Expo. We're not trying to compete with them. It's different things. So I don't want it to be like a comic show, but comics, Funko Pops. I don't collect them, but there are plenty of people who do and like them and love them. And last year we had a couple people that were really focused on those, and we don't yet this year. So I actually have a post going out soon that I'm trying to get more than Funko Pop vendors. But it's a really good mix. Pretty much anything you collect, you're probably going to find some of that here. Wrestling too. Memphis is a wrestling town. So a lot of wrestling figures. A lot of people collect them. A lot of people vend and sell them. But pretty much anything you collect, you're going to find something from that line.
Yeah, I think wrestling is sort of it's coming up because people don't realize how big wrestling is, like you were saying. And then all of a sudden, I mean, Memphis, because you do have Atlanta, you got WCW was in here in Atlanta, and I know Memphis had a bunch of wrestling up there. I don't know what what it was called up there, but yeah, we were talking a Second Chance, and we were just like, I can't believe how popular wrestling is.
Yeah,
those toys are insane. And I think Funko Pops, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but they're sort of because I used to collect Funko. I still collect some of the Funkos because I as much as I try to get away from them, they keep coming back. So I kind of call them like this is mean of me to say, but sort of the cockroaches of the toy industry, because they're always going to be there no matter what happens. And I mean, I was at Second Chance last night talking to somebody, or a couple of nights ago talking to somebody about them. And it was like, yeah, I got lucky because I was able to play the long game on a lot of my pops. But yeah, I mean, they're still popular and they're doing it right. So I think they're going to be here for a minute. So you've got to, you don't want to have a whole bunch of pops, but you got to have one or two pop vendors because people are into them.
Yeah, for sure. And people, I mean, people who collect modern or Funko Pops, they'll look at vintage Star Wars and be like, there's no articulation. You can't do photo shoots with them, and so, it may not be my cup of tea, but that's fine. Everyone can find what they love and enjoy, and you know, uh, for me it's vintage. Other people it's Funko Pop. Some people it's GI Joe and things like that. So yeah, so try to have a good mix.
Right. You got to have a good mix, and you got to embrace it all, because I mean, that's sort of the thing we've dealt with since the beginning of the club, is people are like, well, I don't collect vintage. It's like, but you collect Star Wars, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, it's all the same umbrella, man. Come have some fun. Let's go,
Yeah, for sure.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Is this the same location as last year, real quick? Sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Yeah, it's so the Great Hall and Conference Center. They do a lot of weddings and stuff. They used to have a virtual tour online, but they don't. It like expired or something. But yeah, it's in a really nice location. I know some people hear Memphis and think high crime and is it going to be safe? It's actually in Germantown, which is kind of one of the attached suburbs. It's in a really nice location. They also have a performing arts center attached to it. Plenty of parking. It's a very nice area of town. So, if you're, if you don't normally come to Memphis, but you're within an hour or two and worried about that, it's a very safe area of town. You're not gonna, have any issues there.
Yeah. Sorry, Glenn. Go ahead.
No. I forgot what I was going to say, but anyway, I could just imagine, because you said you had like 30 something vendors, and I've really, because we tried doing a show, Jason and I, for the club, and we had 15, 20 vendors, and it was a headache dealing with 20 different people. I could just imagine dealing with 40 something people. And yeah, God bless you for wanting to put on a toy show, because just putting on a little free toy show for us was insane. And like you were talking about with the outside show, which it's the Powder Springs Toy Swap, and that's been, I think, 3 or 4 years in the making. I think did it start during the pandemic, maybe, Jason, or right in
somewhere around there,
because it was an outdoor toy show. But yeah, we'll go there some days, like you were saying, that outdoor and toys in the South don't mix, but you'll go there in the morning and there's just a fresh sheen of like dew on everything, and the bubbles are moist, and it's like, it just
in full sun.
It's not,
in full sun, so that plastic's going to start yellowing,
right? So it's just not. And then you got some days, I'd say probably 2 or 3 shows. There's 6 shows a year, and I'd say there's only 2 that the weather's perfect, because it's either too hot or too cold, and it's in the middle of August, and it's like, outside and toy. But that's a show, outside and toys don't mix. But like you were saying, building shows, that's a show that it's kind of been a grassroots thing. It started off with 2 or 3. It started off at the dude's house.
Yeah.
And now it's 50, 60 vendors every other week, every other month.
Well, it's a big advantage when you have it outside, because it's the cost is so much lower. Like either, you find some place that will let you do it for free or really low cost. You don't have to charge vendors much. Or I don't know how that works there, but, yes, it's not ideal being outside, but I mean, I have said multiple times, I wish I lived closer to be able to go to stuff like that, to go to that show, because there's really some really nice stuff that shows up at that show. I've seen pictures and your guys' videos of it. So I'm not trying to poo-poo on anyone's
right.
show.
No, I got you.
But it does. There are challenges with that, but yeah.
Well, and also I think if you're like the only game in town, you got a big advantage on that too, because here in Atlanta, shows cannibalize themselves, because was a point, I think we had a show every weekend at one point, because you've got people, and we've had shows on the same weekend, and on the same day, to where it's like you go to one show and then it's, I got to go to this other one, and they end up hurting themselves. So I mean, if you're the only show in town, you definitely have an advantage on that.
Yeah. So like I was talking about, we have a few other shows that are geek related, and we've all intentionally tried to not get in each other's way,
right?
And even when not just that, but promote each other, as much as we can. Like I promote all the other local shows, the Comic Expo, the Diecast and Toy Show. Next weekend we have it's been a very busy fall. It's like I have a show like almost every weekend, but not the same weekend, thankfully. But next weekend is Memphis Monster Con, which is a brand new show.
Oh wow!
That's one of the guys who owns 901 Comics is putting that on. And I'm going that to volunteer just to help them out because I think part of being a good part of the community or good member of the community is helping out where you can.
Yeah.
So whether it's posting about the show or volunteering or whatever, there's room for everybody. As long as you kind of work together and not putting things on the same weekend. So yeah, I originally had planned on kind of having mine in the fall and trying to find in the process of trying to find a venue and finally finding the Great Hall and something that worked. Like they're like, well, the only date we have is December. I think last year was December 9th. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're going to do an early December show from now on, which works out pretty good. This year it's kind of weird because Thanksgiving is the last weekend of November.
Yeah, there's like no time.
Yeah, it's so that my show is the weekend after. Last year it was 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, which would be better. But you can't. I don't want to be too close to Christmas, but I want to be far enough away where people have a little money to spend on themselves, but still looking, maybe for gifts for people.
Right.
But yeah, making sure that people, you're not on, obviously not on the same weekend, have a little bit of space, so people can save up and have money to spend or even just time, to come out because even if someone wants to come just look at stuff. I mean, I'm more than happy, that's great, because that sometimes, they'll look around, they might be big collectors, they'll look around and be like, oh, I had that as a kid. And then, that's the spark that gets somebody, into collecting and, bringing them joy and hopefully bringing them joy and not frustration. Cause we all have frustrations.
Yeah, we do.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. Sorry, go ahead.
No, do it, Jason. Talk.
I don't have anything. Go.
You don't have any. So what do you charge? See what happens? It's fun seeing it live, isn't it, Barry?
Yeah.
Just talk,
so what do you charge? So like general admission just to get in the show, how much is it for somebody to get it? Hey, Harrison, what's up, buddy? Hi, Harrison. Anyway, how much do you charge to?
Did I say Harrison? I didn't say Harrison. Did you not? I didn't say Harrison. I swear. I didn't say Harrison. He's a ghost. We're back to the spooky stuff. He heard a voice from the ethereal beyond say his name.
Oh, you just embarrassed him on live Zoom call, Jason.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The 200 people who listen to this are just going to be like,
you're gonna have one less this week because I cannot stand the sound of my own voice. So I'm gonna try, but but back to it's $5 to get in for general admission, and then we're doing early bird, which is $10.
Nice.
And it's just one day. It's not like a weekend thing, right?
Yeah, it's one day. Yeah. Which there's pros and cons. So I wanted to start this up, but I wanted to start somewhat small. I know 50 vendors isn't small, but it's I didn't want to go rent out a convention center or anything like that and go super huge. If we the idea is to grow kind of organically. If we end up with people on the waiting list this year, we look at a bigger place next year or something like that. But just one day. So in the negative of that is you can't really get many out of town people because they need to. They basically have to set up in the morning, do the show, break down that night.
Yeah.
Versus bigger shows, especially ones that are like a couple days. You have overnight setup, but then that also adds cost. Because you've got to rent it for an extra day and all of that. But yeah, so $5 general admission at 10, early bird at 9, which is $10. Last year we had a lot more early birds than I expected. I was expecting maybe 50, and we had 100. Wow. So, I was pleasantly surprised at that. I didn't say something else and lost my train of thought. I guess that.
How many attendees do you have? I mean, do you keep?
We had about 550 last year.
Wow.
And that's paid attendees. So kids 12, I think 12, it's 12 and under free. Mm-hmm. So we had, a good number of kids too.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I appreciate when shows do that where like 12 and under, you get in for free. because it encourages people to bring their families, because there's nothing worse than you spend $50 to get in a show and that eats into your budget.
Right.
Do the kids need to bring their birth certificate to prove that they're 12?
Because, you know, he can make Harrison look 12 if he
we're
has to.
Just very trusting of, you know.
I'm 11 years old, dude.
Yeah. Well, it was great because one of the places I went to like 13 stores yesterday with posters and flyers. And one of the places, you know, I was giving them, and they're like, "Is this kid friendly?" I said, "Yes, absolutely." And kids at 12 and under are free. She's like, "Well, I got 3 kids." I'm like, "Well, bring them down." You know,
Right.
you know, sometimes we talk about, you know, the health of the hobby, and you know, as we get older, and is anyone gonna want this stuff? And I think, you know, including kids, you know, in that, and see if they, you know, not forcing them to get interested, but you know, exposing them, and if it's something they enjoy, you know, that's how we can keep the hobby going. So for sure, you know, I don't want someone to have to be like, well, I can't go because I can't get a babysitter. It's like, well, bring the kids, you know, and
Right.
it's great. And you know, most of the vendors have stuff that's for younger folks, and we do keep it family friendly. I mean, you know, there are vendor rules, you know, obviously no nudity, you know, porn, stuff like that. You know, there's obviously lines there because, you know, you have, you know, slave Leia statues and stuff, but, you know, nothing very, you know, nothing explicit, because we do want to keep it, you know,
Family friendly.
kid friendly. Because I mean, it's toys, you know.
Yep. That's awesome. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see how it goes this year.
Yeah, me too.
Wish I could make it, but like you said, I got the winter social after that weekend, and then the previous weekend is Thanksgiving, and I'll be doing some traveling for that. So it's
yeah. You know, eventually, maybe one day, if it's, you know, a 2-day show and we move it around, but I get it. You know, I'm not, it doesn't hurt my feelings that y'all can't make it up, because I can't, you know, I don't make it over to Atlanta very often. Usually it's just to Atlanta, but I am planning on being at the social this year because it's great hanging out with you guys and
how far is the venue from the Heartbreak Hotel?
Oh gosh, you're gonna quiz me on. I don't know.
I was surprised to learn that there is a Heartbreak Hotel.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a real thing.
It's in Memphis.
Yeah. You know, but if you're coming to Memphis, you know, if you're coming for the show, you know, stay an extra day. I mean, there's, you know, Graceland, and if you want to run down to Tupelo, you can see the shack that Elvis was born in. And which is not, I don't mean to disrespect that. It is a small little house, but they do have a really cool Elvis museum. So there's definitely stuff, you know, if you want to if you're a little farther out and want to make it, you know, a weekend of it, and there's definitely stuff to do. And then, you know, tons of local toy stores and comic shops and all of that, many of which will be at the show, but you know, obviously not all can't bring all their stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. You have any other questions, Glenn?
I don't think so.
Because I have news. We didn't even go.
Yeah, we got news. You want to do the news with us, Barry?
Yeah,
yes.
Sure.
Yes, he does.
And then we got to talk Jason or Jordan, our buddy Jordan sent us some stuff. So I want to talk about that too. So do the news, and then we'll.
So a new trailer for Skeleton Crew dropped. With it was a new poster. Show creator John Watts said that Neil, the blue alien that looks like Max Rebo, isn't the same species as Max Rebo. Just to drop that in. But what did you think of the trailer?
That trailer, they're fine. I think Star Wars is finally starting to do a trailer right, because that they actually like use like real world songs to it, which is the first time I think they've done that in Star Wars. And you just hear that, you know, the da 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 da. You hear that music behind it, and it's just like, this better be good. I really hope this is going to be good. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Skeleton Crew. The more I see it, the more it's like, yeah, this is going to be like a Goonies-ish, E.T. kids, Stranger Things drama, which I think Star Wars really needs.
Barry?
Yeah, I'm excited. It looks great to me. I wonder if the Goonies part is kind of almost a mislead, because, you know, usually when we do those trailers, it's only stuff from the first 2 or 3, you know, episodes, so that that reveal. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who doesn't want to watch the trailer or anything, but that reveal when they show the room with all the stuff in it. I wonder if that's the first couple episodes. I wonder if that's not like kind of the big thing. But yeah, it's definitely Goonies, vibe, and it's for kids. It frustrates me. It frustrates me when I see comments online about, oh, this is too much for kids. I'm like, that's what Star Wars is. It's meant for kids.
It's for 6-year-olds.
Yeah. So, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I hate to keep saying this, but this show has to do good, because if we want more Star Wars content, this show has to do good, because I think if it flops and they have another, like a third flop in a row, it's not good for Disney Plus and Star Wars content. And I think this is the first like unsolicited time that my wife's been like, I need to watch that, because like with Ahsoka and everything that's come out, I've been so hyped up about it. I'm like, I got to watch this. So she's watched it because I've watched it, but this is the first one that she's been like, I want to see that.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jason.
I wonder about the whole strategy, because Star Wars was typically movies up until kind of Mandalorian, really,
right?
And they've kind of gotten away from that. And you look at Marvel, where like the big stakes stuff happens in the movies, and then you've got these TV shows which have stakes and are interesting, but it's not like the events,
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder if maybe maybe Star Wars needs to get back to that. The movies are the high stakes, big things, and the shows, well, great, but aren't how they're pushing the story forward so much.
They talked, so there was an article on StarWars.com where gosh, what's his name? I just deleted it. Command Z. John Watts, the show creator, he talked about inspirations for the show, and he said some of the things included Goonies, E.T., Monkey Island, which is a video game, Indiana Jones, Predator, Empire of the Sun, and Flight of the Navigator. And then he said, you're trying to do what George Lucas did, and he was trying to make Flash Gordon or a Kurosawa film, which I think is what JJ did wrong. Was he was trying to make a Star Wars film, and he didn't go back to the things that inspired him to get into filmmaking and then make a Star Wars film based on that stuff. It's not, you can't copy a Star Wars film. You have to copy something else or be inspired for something else. And like the Phantom Menace was not the Phantom Menace wasn't inspired from Star Wars. Like Ben-Hur was the inspiration for the pod racer scene. So I think they're doing it right. I think they've got the right angle by showing all that stuff. There's some like Lost in Space vibes too, because they talked about how the kids were on this boring planet and they wanted to get off planet, and they get lost in space because they find a spaceship, and then they come to find out, and this is not a spoiler because this was part of that interview, they come to find out that nobody's heard of their planet before because it's so boring, and so they can't go back. They don't know how to get back, and so
and it feels you've already figured out we're talking spoilers, but they're talking about Old Republic credits, and it's like, well, there's your treasure chest. There's your treasure that they have. So all I'm looking forward to it, because is you're going to have pirates chasing him. You're going to have good guys. And then I think Jude Law is you're not seeing 100% of what he is yet, but no, I'm looking forward to getting out of Star Wars in Star Wars, which I've been saying that for years. Try to get away from Skywalker, which I think they finally are doing that a little bit on this show, and hopefully they get it right. I really hope they get it right.
Is that so? We're going to talk spoilers. So the trailer room, the treasure. So the trailer with the treasure room, is that on the ship?
I assume. I only saw the trailer once, and I'm assuming that's the ship.
Okay. Because I was wondering, that just crossed my mind, like they're saying like they have Old Republic credits, and they show the kids getting out of the ship and going to this, the street vendor or whatever. So yeah, I didn't put that together. No, so I'm sure everyone else is probably yelling at the radio like, duh, like, but yeah, that's cool.
Doggone it, Barry, come on, get with it. You haven't
Right,
watched
right.
the trailer 15 times and dissected it
I
yet?
did watch it a bunch of times, but and you talked about the real world song. You know that's in Huddies, right? The Major Tom. That's
Oh yeah, that's so odd. Is it in Huddies? It
the lyrics are in Huddies because I
okay.
watched those stuff with closed captioning,
Mhm.
and yeah, when the lyric I recognized the song, and I'm like, what is that? And it's not English words, but yeah, if you put on if you haven't watched it with captions, put on the closed captions, and it shows. It doesn't say Huddies, but it shows the words in Huddies, and that's what they're
That's
singing. It's
funny.
not the English version.
Right. I knew it wasn't
That's
English. I figured it was Star Wars, but
Yeah,
yeah, that it just it they did it right because that song I think just hypes it up some more. And it was also to bring it back to Rogue Fun, it was on the Rogue Fun playlist. So whenever there's a song that comes up on the Rogue Fun playlist, I'm like,
Was it?
yes, I put that Major Tom. The 4, 3, 2, 1,
I'm pulling up the
Earth
playlist because that went right over my
below
head.
us. Now he's looking it up.
I'm looking
But
it up. This is so exciting.
yes, it is.
I don't see
But
it here.
yeah, no. So while he's doing that, are we done talking?
No, real quick, the people
Yes.
believe because you were
No,
talking
no, I
about
was gonna
that.
say done. Go ahead, go. Go. Look it up.
People were dissecting the trailer. You had mentioned that, and they think
Yeah.
they saw a Hondo ship.
Really?
Yeah.
yeah. I saw the.
Hello, my friends. That
Hello,
would
my
be awesome.
friend. How are you? Welcome.
Dude, could you imagine? Oh, that would be so awesome to see Hondo in live action. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to pick it apart. I don't want to be like, oh, look, this is the ghost, or look, there's going to be this, or I don't want to get my hopes up. But I mean, it could definitely, bring in some of those weird, bring in some characters and tie in some shows. But that's what Marvel did. So I'm kind of curious why Star Wars, let Star Wars do it a little bit too.
And then finally, Jude Law was speaking to Variety, and they said, well, "What's it like having the Force?" And he said, "Who says I've got the Force?"
I don't think he's the Jedi.
He's probably a pirate like Jack Sparrow, who's trying to manipulate the kids to get the ship, to get whatever he's looking for. And he double crosses them, but then he's got a heart of gold because he feels bad. So then he helps saves the kid, and then I don't know, I'll spoil it by just doing like stereotypes for that kind of character.
I've heard some people think they're saying that he's like Haja from Kenobi, like he
Yeah.
might be able to do some of the tricks with
Yeah.
magnets or something. I think the whole isn't he a Jedi? I think if he was, they would probably be promoting that pretty hard.
Right.
Right.
But who knows?
You're saying I don't even think it's him that's pulled the lightsaber. I think it's one of the kids.
Yeah, clever editing.
Right.
You
See.
But
We'll see when it
that's
premieres on December 3rd.
December 3rd. So we got a month.
Yeah, we got a new Star Wars show next month.
Yes.
We could finally say that. And then in the UK, they have to be more transparent about film costs than they do here in the United States, especially if they want tax credits. They have to like file average salaries and all this other kind of stuff that you don't normally have to do here in the US. So they were able to figure out, Forbes was able to figure out the cost of Solo. And it cost $364 million to produce because of the reshoots. They essentially had to refilm 90% of the movie. They got a tax credit for $65 million. So that brought the cost down to $298 million. So it's essentially a $300 million movie. It grossed 392, so that's about a $96 million profit. But when you factor in all of the marketing that goes on for a project like this, I don't think they broke even. I think they lost money on Solo.
Yeah. And I think that's what you were saying about how Star Wars needs to be back in the movie theater. I think there's two sides to that coin. We've got how they totally messed up Solo and Rogue One and the sequel trilogy. How it was like boom, 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 boom. It was too much Star Wars, too close together. And then we have post-COVID stuff where nobody's really going to a theater unless it's something special. And well, I guess we'll see what happens. But I mean, I totally see Star Wars or Lucasfilm, not Lucasfilm. Yeah, it is Lucasfilm or Disney just being really careful with what they put out in theaters to try to make their money back.
And they try to marvelize Star Wars by putting something out every year. And I think maybe 2 years is a good gap, but not every year, not 6 months. Like pace it out, make it an event.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you guys talked about this last few weeks, even, how fast things go from theaters to streaming or, DVD. And, before COVID, my wife and I mean, we used to go to movies all the time, like, a couple times a month at least. And now, it's got to be a big event kind of movie for us to go. And then we usually go to like the IMAX. There's like one IMAX theater in Memphis. So it has to be like an event. And then, because, if you don't see it in the theaters, then, month and a half, 2 months later, you just watch it on streaming. So it seems like something's off kilter there.
Yeah.
Like they want to go back to the big events, and Star Wars movies. Like I hope, Mandalorian and Grogu isn't on streaming, a month or two, after it releases.
I'm sure it will, because I missed Beetlejuice, and I went to go see it in October, and it came out in October. It came out in September, right?
September, yeah. It's only been out maybe a month or two.
Yeah, so I went to go see it, and then I started looking up showtimes, and then it came out that it comes out like in November on digital, and later in November it comes out on DVD, and I'm like, it's just cheaper for me to wait and buy the DVD and get the digital copy than it is to go to the theater and spend $50 on my whole family on a Tuesday night when they do a $5 or $6 deal at the movie tavern. So like it just condensed everything to 3 months there.
Right.
So if you didn't know, if let's say for Beetlejuice in your example, like if you knew that if you didn't watch it in theaters, you wouldn't be able to see it on digital or DVD for a year, like next Halloween.
Yeah.
Would you have then gone to the theater?
100%.
Yeah.
But why bother if I can just wait a couple of weeks and get it?
Right.
Yeah.
I think even 6-8 months, because I think that was a normal cycle, but also it feels like, okay, this movie's not making any more money. Let's put a new movie in it. You also had you had like 2-3 months to see something in a theater. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Because it feels like after a month it's pulled because it's going to be on streaming in 2 months.
Yeah.
But plus it also, I mean, I know this frustrates Jason when I talk about it, but it's like when streaming, it's $20 to rent it on streaming. It's like at that point, I'll just wait for Disney Plus because, or I don't know.
I don't know why that's frustrating for me.
Well, no, you're frustrated because when people would look at you and go, I'm not trying to rent the movie. I don't want to buy it. I just want to watch it. It's more theater being in a theater versus streaming. But yeah, it just feels like you're paying $50 to go see it in a theater, then $20 to see it at home a month later. And then if you wait another month, you can get it for free on Disney Plus or whatever streaming service that it's on. But yeah, I do, because we did the same thing with Beetlejuice, where it's like, oh, let's go see it. Mandy, my wife, was all excited about it. And a couple of weeks go by and then you lose interest and then it's gone from the theater.
And the weird thing about streaming now is they count everything by minutes. So Inside Out 2 dropped and Disney was promoting it as like there was 118 million minutes watched. And it's like, well, does that mean a bunch of families watched 20 minutes and dipped out? But you called that 20 minutes?
Right.
Because that's what I did. I watched it for 20 minutes and then I had to go to bed and I haven't gone back to it yet. And it's not that I didn't like the movie. It's just life is so busy and there's so much to watch. But Disney counted that as 20 minutes of that 118 million minutes. It wasn't how many times people watched the movie.
Yeah.
We used to be real big on buying, physical copies, Blu-ray, 4K.
Yeah.
And you kind of got away from it. And I mean, they don't put out DVDs and 4Ks for everything anymore. And then you have stores not carrying them anymore.
Yeah.
Best Buy doesn't carry DVDs anymore. Even online, which I found out, I didn't realize until like this week. But then some of the prices on that stuff, like I wanted to get the Wolverine and Deadpool Steelbook.
Yeah.
The 4K, $65.
Wow.
I was like, no, I guess I'll just wait for streaming.
Because wasn't Ahsoka and Mando season 3? They're coming to 4K, and they were what, $75? But that's a full season of a show.
Yeah, I need to look at it, and I wish I would have bought Mando season 1 and 2 on Steelbook when they were out. But yeah, I guess we're just moving away from that. And I was thinking, like, well, what's the next thing after 4K? And I guess it's nothing. It's just digital now.
Yeah, because the
There's no
human, I mean, you can go up to 8, you can go up to 16K, but the human eye can only take so much data.
Right.
And at that point, you're wasting bandwidth trying to push 8K when the eye can't even see it.
Yeah.
The nice thing about shooting like 4K is that if you wanted to zoom in or crop a shot, you're not going to lose any. And it's 1080p. If your format's 1080p, but you shoot 4K, you can zoom in without losing any resolution. And that's the advantage of shooting 4K. And it does look cool, but yeah, I don't know why I'm going on this tangent.
Yeah.
You're yelling at clouds.
What? Squirrel?
You're yelling at clouds. You're old man yelling at clouds.
Go back here. Get off my yard. George. So Ian McCraig, who was what is it called? He did a bunch of sketches. He was the lead sketch guy for that's a concept designer for episode 1. He was talking to StarWars.com, and they were celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. And he dropped the bombshell that Liam Neeson was originally Obi-Wan Kenobi, and thus the real Obi-Wan Kenobi died. He says it was very poignant. Wait, why can't I say that word? Poignant at the end, as Obi-Wan dies and Qui-Gon, then Ewan McGregor defeats Darth Maul and stays with his master as he passes away. He not only takes his master's quest, but he takes his name. Qui-Gon becomes Obi-Wan. And then when you see Alec Guinness in A New Hope put his hood down and goes, Obi-Wan, that's not a name I've heard in a long time. It's because he's not Obi-Wan, he's Qui-Gon. And right at the end, George decided to change it. So when he says right at the end, right before filming, he's about to change it. Which would have been a crazy twist.
Yes.
And I'm glad because that episode 1 was a lot for people to take. And I think that would have pushed things over the edge and people would just revolt and say, how can you say that Alec Guinness is not the real Obi-Wan?
Right.
You remember when episode 1 came out, the spoiler of Qui-Gon's death. Qui-Gon's death was spoiled by the CD, right?
Yes.
The soundtrack.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it had said, the death of Obi-Wan?
Right.
On the CD, people were like, what?
Obi-Wan's funeral. What?
He's not dead.
I don't know if you guys were, before episode 1 came out, there were so many crazy theories about. I remember reading one that was it Darth Maul was either Obi-Wan or a clone of Obi-Wan, and they're trying to compare facial structure. I mean, this is early day of wow. This is really before social media because it was 98.
I guess they're trying to fold in the Clone Wars with that one, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And then people saying, well, oh no, Palpatine and Sidious are 2 different people. Good times back in the day.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy. I do think that Darth Sidious is Palpatine. We need to get that confirmed at some point.
That's kind of out there, Jason. It's kind of out there.
Sorry. I know I'm going out in left field. I'll go yell at the clouds that somebody needs to do something about it. So what were you saying about Jordan, Glenn?
Oh, so he
said something about you don't care about him anymore?
No, I don't like Jordan anymore. He's such a jerk. Anywho, no, he had messaged us because he was listening to the last podcast where I couldn't remember what I was trying to say about my Bill and Ted collection, and he said the word is archiving.
You're archiving a Bill and Ted collection?
Yeah, I feel like it's my job, my call in life to archive all that stuff.
It's your duty.
It's my duty now.
I thought the word you were looking for was curate.
That may be it. Curate, archive. Yeah, curate maybe a little bit more I think they're the same word, just different sides of the coin. But yes, curate's more what I was looking for. But see, look,
curate is when I was yelling at my phone.
I love that. It's just like, people, because I've talked to people who have podcasts. We've got our buddy Ted, who does Force, of course. And I've talked to him and I've messaged him and I'm like, you don't know the amount of times I go to pick up my phone to call you. And then I'm like, oh, I'm listening to a podcast. Like you do the radio, like old school radio. You'd call it to be put on the radio to yell at him.
Oh, poor
Yeah.
Glenn is like, I'm gonna talk to someone. Oh, it's a podcast. I can't
It
talk to
really is. It's
anybody.
like I need to call Ted, and oh, wait a minute, it's a podcast. It's already
It's
been
a
recorded.
it's a podcast he probably recorded 3 weeks ago, and you call him and you'd be like, it's I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of something right now, but it's a detail. It's a detail. And he'll
Right.
be like, what are you talking about?
He would be like, dude, I'm sleeping. What?
Like, what's a deep thing from Rebels?
Oh, geez.
Something people usually get wrong.
I don't know.
No,
I can't think
forget.
off the top of my head, but yes.
That makes two of us.
Right. I'm not very good at thinking on top, stuff like that.
That's what she said.
Hey.
Anyways, anything else?
That, and he said Transformers. They also do pipeline reveals for Transformers. Hasbro.
Okay. All right. I stand corrected. Thanks for fact checking me. And thanks for fat shaming me.
Fat shaming you. You look like you've been losing weight, dude.
I'm yelling at Jordan.
Okay.
He's not. I'm just joking. Yeah, I mean, okay, cool.
Yeah.
They pipeline things for Transformers. I don't pay attention to Transformers, so
Who would?
they could have been doing it before Star Wars for all I know.
Right.
But yeah, so then that Chopper's coming. They repainted Chopper to look like the Imperial Chopper. They released that this week.
Which yeah.
It was like a Mexican or a Spanish, some sort of Spanish Comic-Con, and they revealed that's coming.
Right. And it's about time they get smart with doing an actual good repaint.
But
so yay, Hasbro.
Anything else?
Barry, plug your show one more time.
Yeah, so Midsouth Toy Fest, it is in Memphis, Tennessee on December 7th from 9 to 4 a.m. You can either search on Facebook or on Google Midsouth Toy Fest, and it'll be the first thing that comes up. And if you can't find it, just send me a message on Facebook, or you can email Midsouth Toy Fest if you're Gen X or before and still use email. But yeah, come out. We'd love to have you, and it'll be a great time.
Is the Midsouth Toy Fest brat?
Is it what now?
Brat?
Brats?
Oh my gosh. It's the young hip thing. Like all the kids in the car be like, oh my God, did he just say that? But you were talking about generations, so I was trying to relate it. So you could just say, yeah, it's brat. Just
sure.
say, yeah.
Yes. And it's
Yes,
4
it is.
it's 4 p.m., not a.m., right, Barry?
Yes. 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Did I say a.m.?
You sure did.
Well,
all
for
these
him, it
people
will
like,
be.
I'm not going to that show. It's too late.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for listening to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. If you could, please leave a like and a 5-star show review of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. It really helps us out and points people to our show. You can follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback. We love to make you part of the show. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Alfonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the music. People, collect for the love of it. Hashtag vote with your wallet. It's Callous with a K. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. This is the way.
This is the way. You can say it, Barry. Say it.
The way.
And yes, I do think Callus and Zeb are more than buddies. I think they were they were gay lovers. But anyway, bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh.